You know what time it is? I have not been able to play this game for the past 2 months now already. There has been some setbacks. But now, I'm gonna try first with these settings. Should run. Well enough. Where it is nice to play. But one other thing first. Oh shit! I forgot to put on NVIDIA's application overlay is not on. Oops. Let me fix that. Okay. Yeah, I didn't have NVIDIA's RTX HDR. Now it should be on immediately. I think. Yeah, it looks to be immediately working. Just looking at the numbers, they are brighter than normal. Okay, so is visible on the... Yes, it is. Oh no, you actually cannot see this. Interesting. The application overlay does not actually show on the stream. Yeah, so... Oh yeah, I could get myself something more to drink. Load journey. I mean, I have this save 40 hours of just running around and testing different settings and whatever. Lol. Be right back. Oh yeah, brightness. I wanna see that this is correct, because otherwise the SDR image is gonna be a little... That's fine, yeah. Okay, so do I wanna say anything before we continue? Or before I restart the playthrough? What did I say or didn't say last time? I mean, obviously I was daft enough last time that I was focusing so much on the gameplay mechanics and talking about them, instead of even noticing that we were literally fighting Erlang of the Sacred Divinity, the grandson of the Jade Emperor, the High God King of, like, the realm above. And all of his subordinates are basically... I mean, that word is not gonna fit. I guess they could be called like a brotherhood of some kind. Like all of the folk living in the realm above, in the heaven. But it's segmented into different parts, at least Eastern and Western Heaven. Also, I did only read the novel, though the big part where we finally get the Black Wind Mountain, which is, by the way, where this game starts. Like, I was very pleased to see that the point where I read the novel, where we Sun Wukong finally meets the Tripitaka, aka Shen Xuanzang, who is searching for scriptures from the Western Heaven, or the Western Realm, in... Hold up, what was the continent name again? Purvideha or something is the continent that they are at. In the western side of that entire realm, or continent, he was in search of scriptures that he can use to relieve dead spirits from their past sins and let them be absolved and reborn in the name of Buddha. He was looking for great vehicle, in quotations, is what he was looking for, what scriptures in particular. And this game's story takes place after those scriptures clearly have been secured, because in the introduction, Sun Wukong himself says that, like, very first time when he starts to address all of the, like, the army that was sent from the heavens, and all of the Deravajas and the other heavenly brotherhood folk of different nobilities, he says that his master is safe and the scriptures are also safe. So clearly the point in the story where this continues from is right after the Journey to the West story. I was wrong when I said, like, first time when I played this game, where I may have seen this moment, but it's partially true, because in the actual novel, there is a very early part on the novel, in like the first 50 or 60 pages even. Okay, maybe not that early, maybe in the first like 100 pages or so, where Erlang has been sent along with some other like rank and file of the Heavens folk to claim the Flower Fruit Mountain, capture the monkeys, and particularly Sun Wukong himself, obviously, the biggest troublemaker. And he fights Wukong for like 60 rounds tirelessly or something. And then it gets to the point where Sun Wukong sees the other monkeys around him of the Flower Fruit Mountain, which he calls his own flesh and blood at this point, because they all use even the same family name as Sun Wukong does, because none of them had names before, so they all just identify as like Suns, like great Suns, sons of Suns, and whatever, you know. So Wukong feels a surprising amount of attachment to the monkeys in the Flower Fruit Mountain, something that he does not feel for anything else in the story of Journey to the West, at least in the point where I've met. And that, like, struggle and oppression and the capturing of his monkeys around him when they are dueling, or when he's dueling Erlang, lasts for so long amount of time that he cannot, like, morally take it anymore. And instead of doing anything more for the situation, he decides to escape, or try to escape all of his troubles. So when he notices that he cannot beat Erlang, he turns into different shapes of animals and runs away from him, and this continues for like tens of pages for a while, before he finally gets captured because of another Arhat from the same region of the same continent of the map where Sun Wukong comes from, in the same continent, the Purvideha continent or something like that. They have very hard to pronounce names. But anyway, this Buddhist Arhat, and Arhat, by the way, for people who don't know, it's a namesake given, or an honorable name given to Buddhist monks or bodhisattvas who have obtained the highest amount of enlightenment possible. They are, in a way, they are reincarnations of Buddha himself. at least in the Journey to the West story. And they are the most highly regarded and esteemed individuals that there can possibly be. And so, one of those old patriarchs who rules a monastery somewhere nearby turns up finally and helps Erlang and the other Deravajas to finally capture him. And that's the first time he actually gets captured against his own volition. First time in the story. And then obviously later we get to the point where kind of the same exact thing happens again, but different situation. But the consequences are that he gets trapped into the five-faced mountain, and there he stays for quite a while before them. Tripitaka, who is searching for the scriptures from the west because of his own emperors from a different realm, orders him to do so because... Okay, I'm not gonna explain this entire thing. This is gonna take a while. So there's a Tang region where there is a Tang emperor named Tai Long, and he, in fact, dies prematurely 20 years before he should have died. He goes in to the Buddhist hell or underworld, and he faces all of the gods and kings of the underworld and consults them about his death, obviously. And they conclude that he should not have died yet. He died 20 years before he should have died. So they help him in his way to salvation from the predicament that he's been put in prematurely before he should have died. So he travels a long journey from the underworld, and he sees all manner of terrifying contraptions and perditions against different types of people, criminals, sinners, and all those people suffering in the underworld endlessly and eternally, without any end. And when he sees those people that he walks past, then he asks a whole lot of questions from them. Oh yeah, the messenger, yeah. From the messenger who is guiding him through the underworld to show him the path out of there so that he can be reincarnated back into his own body. So he basically just comes from the dead. And then, after he comes from the dead, to put it very bluntly, then he dedicates the rest of his life to worshipping only the best of virtues, and he also forces this on all of his all of the people that live in the same empire as he does. Every single person turns the most virtuous and honorable and practitioner of the best possible the behavior that they can be, in order for nobody, including especially himself, to never have to suffer eternally the same way that he saw the sinners suffer in the Buddhist hell, or underworld, I mean. So, one task that he has been given by the gods and kings of the underworld was that, or should I say, one command given to him in order for him to absolve his own sins that he has committed to the point in the story where he died and gets reincarnated, that he promises to do, is he needs to hold a festival for absolving the sins of all of the sinners in the underworld that have died because, or partially died because of his own rules makings. So people who have been possibly oppressed before, people who he has conquered, people who hate him, you know, anybody who just lives on the area that he has, that they somehow feel that they have a strong resentment towards him. So because of the Buddhist virtues that they are practicing, hating like your enemy like that is not always, or most of the time even, seen as a good virtue. So he's been given this challenge to hold a festival to absolve the sins of anybody in the underworld who has died because of partially his own making in some way, which there are many, many, many people, great many. They don't give a number, but anyway, it's a massive amount of people, right? So it turns out that when he ordered a nearby biggest monastery possible, and he names one of the monks in charge to be the... What was the fucking word for this again? I have a notebook for this, but I haven't read it in a while, so that I remember some of this stuff. But yeah, he names one of those highest esteemed monks from the monastery to be the... I'm just gonna say... I guess I'm just gonna say director. I don't remember a better word for it right now, so I'm just gonna call him director. He orders one of the highest esteemed monks there as a director for the festival. So he gets the special honor to do this. Is obviously very surprised about and very humble also about, as all of them are usually, who practice Buddhist arts. And then, when this festival is finally being held, it turns out that one of the members in the what is it? The crowd turns out to be actually one of the Western Bodhisattvas, Guanyin, or Guanxian, as that person is also known by. And that person holds almost the same amount of power, if not exactly the same amount of power, as a Buddhist Tathagata holds. Or I'm not generally sure if that's how you say it, but Tathagata is basically a synonym in Buddhism for people who have also obtained the greatest possible might a Bodhisattva can obtain through teachings of the Taoist and Taoist arts. So they are essentially a reincarnation of Buddha, the purest possible, with the highest amount of possible power obtainable. And compared, or the difference between, usually from what I have read at least, between Arhats and Tathagatas is that Arhats are usually mere mortals by their form, while Tathagatas, in the story, at least in Journey to the West, they possibly have been mortals before, but they are mostly immortal divine beings that are able to shape their own forms into anything they feel like, and they control all like ways of like natures and minds of beasts and men and all that. Like, they have very great powers compared to Arhats, who are mostly more mundane and in the normal, like, earthly realm, you could say. So anyway, this Guanyin or Guanxian is in the crowd watching this director of the festival give his speech for the absolvance of sins and the deliverance of the dead from their perdition into the Heaven's Gate, or be reincarnated. And Guanxian is listening to him recite some scriptures of the little vehicle, which is basically just a name for a scripture that details, or that has Buddhist writings on them, that is supposed to, when recited by a learned scholar, is supposed to give the dead passage from the underworld to be reincarnated. But problem is, little vehicle the scripture that he's reading from, because he does not know of the great vehicle, it is not actually powerful enough to reincarnate the dead and deliver them from their perdition. So, Guan Xian pops from the crowd, and she shows them she picks up the pedestal, walks to the stage where the director of the festival was at, that Buddhist patriarch, and she starts lecturing them about the great vehicle, while also changing her form to the most divine goddess that they have ever seen, to show that she means business, right? And then they obviously believe what she says, and who she is also. And then that leads to the Tang Emperor Tai Long to hold or put the festival in hold. And then he sends the director of the festival, who is also renamed now to Tripitaka, which is also the name of the scripture that he has been sent to find. And now he's in a journey where he needs to go to the eastern heaven, or no, to the western heaven. You know, that's where the name comes from, Journey to the West, bread and butter of the story. And in his journey, he meets all manner of beasts, friends, foes, and whatnot. And then he meets Sun Wukong in the Five Faces Mountain, which at this point, to my understanding, is actually quite a tiny thing. It's not exactly ever explained in the book, but I think the prison that he is in, the Five Face Mountain, it's very large and it's very small at the same time. It's like a perception trick. The person inside it sees that it's the biggest thing ever, but the person's outside of it, it's about the size of your hand, from what I have understood. So, he finds Sun Wukong, and then Guan Yin herself comes and gives Tripitaka the possibility of asking Sun Wukong or requesting Sun Wukong for his help to back him up in his journey to find the scriptures that he seeks. And Sun Wukong obviously accepts this deal after he has rotted in the Five Face Mountain for 500 years. And then, because even when he got saved from his perdition, even then he's a very reckless and mischievous monkey, right? So Guan Yin comes up with an idea. He hands the Tripitaka a golden fillet when Sun Wukong is acting up very badly, because he is a very selfish monkey still, and very unruly creature as well. Mostly only cares about his own needs and not others' needs or feelings or whatever. And then he gives the Tripitaka this fillet. It's basically a golden-like, halo-like metallic piece of headwear that he's supposed to put on the head of the great sage to be able to control him better. And what it does is, every single time the Tripitaka starts reciting any Buddhist scriptures, Sun Wukong is able to hear those scriptures through the fillet, and through some magical power, or maybe because of Wukong's own misunderstanding or lack of interest of the Buddhist scriptures himself, he gets massive amount of pain and headache and agony from having to listen to those scriptures through the fillet. And that, for me at least, tells that is probably the way that they capture him here in the introduction sequence as well. Because the golden fillet, the exact same one it would appear, starts showing up on his head when he's falling, when Erlang is finally catching on him. And that's the way that he gets captured and turned into stone again, right? So, that's where the story takes place in. And it makes a lot more sense now, because I've read the novel long enough where it starts to make more sense. You see, before I, got to that point in the story, when I first played the game, I only got to the point in the story where Wukong got captured in the Five-Face Mountain. I did not read far enough from there, but now I have read enough where I understand the context better to where this game takes exactly place in, The Tripitaka, his master, and the golden fillet that finally is able to capture him. That's the reason why he falls from the sky when he's transformed and all that, It makes a lot more practical sense. At some point I'm gonna read the entire novel, but I haven't had the interest to read it over doing some other stuff on my free time, so that's why. But yeah, I think that's about enough of that, so